Okay, hi guys. I just had a call from my dad like 5 minutes ago. Well, 10 minutes ago actually. And it's a mess. It's a mess. That's all I can say. I feel so sorry for this guy. Now he's having trouble with his hearing aids, and as soon as I'm done, I can't see him, because of the COVID rules. So I don't know what I can do for him, but when I'm done, I'll try to go over there and see if I can clean them somehow. Anyway, hello. I'm sorry. Um, I'm sorry. I'm always having some kind of issue when I'm on here. I suppose I really shouldn't be doing these right now under the circumstances, but geez, I just need to do something normal. So I'm going to try. I'm going to get with it. If he calls me during the broadcast, um, I'm not going to answer it because there's nothing I can do for him at this moment, but I will when I'm done. So I hope you guys are all doing well. I see that people are starting to join in. Um, we need you. I need you guys too. I really do. Um, let's see here. Yeah, it's I hate to always be talking about this while I'm supposed to be doing a demo, but this is pretty much ruling my life right now. And I just feel so bad. I feel so bad that these COVID laws in the nursing homes make it so difficult for taking care of things that need to be taken care of. Other people, the nurses' aides and things like that, don't always understand, what needs to be done for a certain individual, and I know what he needs, and I can't provide it for him. So it's really tough, and it really sucks. It's a bad thing. You can see people in the hospital, but in the nursing home, they have different regulations, at least here in Indiana, and he was just brought to this new facility on Friday night, and he has to quarantine for 14 days, which means that I can't see him. He can't see anybody. He has to stay in his room. And like I've said before, he's 95 and a half. He does not understand why they're treating him like that. They're not treating him badly. It's just that's the rules. And I have called all of the facilities, the decent facilities that I know of around here, and their policies are all the same, if not worse, than where he's at. So I have gotten, in your response, Jen, I have gotten the first vaccine, but the second one is next week. It doesn't make one bit of difference if I'm vaccinated. That's not the issue. It is because of the mandates, I guess, from the state that any new person has to be quarantined for 14 days, and doesn't matter with the vaccines. So they're all vaccinated. He's vaccinated. He's never had COVID, but I guess somehow they feel that maybe he could carry it or something. But even after the 14-day quarantine, I was told that he can only be allowed 2 visits per week for 1 hour with 2 people. Like my sister and I can go see him 2 times a week for 1 hour. That's it. That's not a lot of time in a week in an old person's age that has nothing to do, can barely hear. It's downright cruel is what it is, but that's the way it is. So if I could take him home and take care of him, I would in a heartbeat, but I cannot manage it. I just can't. He's pretty much incontinent. There's issues with that constantly throughout the day. It's just more than I could handle. I'm living on a thread right now, so that would put me over the edge. So, yeah, I'm sorry to complain and use this time, to do this. But yeah, I mean, he could be gone at any minute, and I mean, he's not really. He's not got anything life threatening at this point, but you've heard of all the stories of people that have died alone without their families during this COVID period, and it's just cruel. To me, it's cruel. So, okay, yeah, I know. A lot of you guys have been through similar situations. We just have to hope and pray that that things get changed, and that people would just wear their damn masks. Really, it's like, what is so difficult? But anyway, okay, so today let's get started with the project, and it is a chainmail. This is, I'm going by a book that I picked up several years back. It's Classic Chainmail Jewelry by Sue Ripsich, and she's got a couple of good books out there. I think she actually has 3 books, but I've got 2 of the 3, and she's got a lot of great patterns in here, and I did contact her, and she was very agreeable for me to do demos and show you how these patterns work. And if you don't have her book, I would highly recommend purchasing them. At least the first one, this Classic Chainmail. This is the one I'm going to be doing some of the patterns in here from time to time, just to break up, some of the different demos, just to cover different bases. So I do have a handout. It's pictures that, it's not pictures copied from the book. It's pictures that I have of my process of doing the bracelet. And like I said, if you don't have the book, please consider getting it. On the handout, I have her webpage address, so you can check it out and see all the good things that she has. I believe she has kits as well that she sells. So, okay. Hey, Gwen. I'm glad you made it. Things, are always changing minute by minute over here. So anyway, so what I did was I'm making the bracelet today in copper, but I did do one in silver, and I love it. I love copper too, but silver just feels so nice. So here's a silver one. And what I wanted to show you too is I'm going to show you how I make the jump rings. And it's just going to be a real brief demo on that. But also I wanted to show you, if you are wondering how much material you need, I'm going to show you in the silver. I had a 1 ounce coil of 18 gauge silver wire, and this is what's left over from the silver coil that I made this chainmail bracelet with. So I'm going to move the camera down a little bit. I'll show you what 1 ounce made, just so you have a little visual understanding. Now, it did not make the clasp, but the rings and then this leftover silver is what 1 ounce is in 18 gauge jump rings in the 6mm. And let's see here. I'm going to see here. In the 6mm and the 3.5mm. So this way you have a little bit of understanding how far an ounce of silver will go. Okay? All right, so I am going to show you with this leftover piece of silver on how to make a coil of jump rings. Now this is using a jump ring cutter system, okay? And I'm hoping that you can see this, but I've got this little wire winder here and a C-clamp that I'm going to attach to my table. And like I've told you guys many times before, this is not my usual working area, so I have to move things around so that you're able to see it rather than carry the phone around and get different areas, although I will have to do that to use my flex shaft to cut these. But the wire winder system has a bunch of different mandrels that are, this is pretty dirty and old, but on the base, on the plastic base that it's in, each mandrel has its number, its size number on here. So depending on the size that you want to use for your project, you pick the appropriate mandrel, which in this case, it is a 6mm mandrel, and a 3.5 is what we're going to use. Oh, this is a 4-point, sorry. Where's the 3? Okay, here we go. Okay, so I've got the 2 mandrels that I need. I'll set that aside. And this measures the outside diameter. So a lot of times you'll see in instructions it'll say inside diameter or outside diameter, and we are measuring from the outside diameter of these mandrels. And I've also seen people put in their silver differently than I do, but I don't know, this is just something that I did, and for not being shown prior, I just kind of figured it this way. I've seen people put their wire in here, catch it in here, but I always put my wire at the end of the mandrel. There's a little slot. Maybe some of the mandrels don't have slots, but this one does. So what I do is, let me see, I need to have wire cutters. Here they are. So I put the 6mm, well, you know, I'm going to change my mind. I'm going to use a 4mm, only because, and that's not for the project, but only because I have more than enough 6mm jump rings cut already. And I use mostly 4mm jump rings. So I'm going to just make more of the 4mm. It just makes sense to me to use my silver that way. So I'll put my mandrel in there, make sure that it's in the center, and then I'm going to take my wire and put it in the slot right on the end, and very slowly and carefully start to make my wire wraps around. And I want to make sure that as I'm turning the handle that I'm keeping my wire straight and steady, because I want my coils to line up evenly right next to each other. I don't want any spaces in between this coil, because that kind of messes it up when you're trying to cut it, which I will show you that in a minute. So I'm just coiling this around. Okay. It doesn't take long to use up that piece of wire. Now we're reaching the end here. And I want to get every bit I can on that coil. Okay, so I've got, that's as much jump rings as that piece of wire made. I should have measured it, I suppose, but I didn't think to do that. And then I just slide this out. I'm going to take off my mandrel and put that back. And take this out of my way. Okay, and then I'm going to snip off. See, I've got like a little tail on here. And this is where I had put the wire in the little slot. I'm going to snip that off on both ends. And then I'm going to take this over, and I'm going to take the camera over to my flex shaft, and I'll show you how I cut this on the coil cutter. All right, let's see here. I'm going to check here first. This is 18 gauge wire. Sonny, I'm using 3.5 and 6 millimeters for the project that we're doing today. Okay. And all right, so I'm going to take the camera out of the holder here. Just travel along with me here. And hopefully this will all work out. All right, hopefully this won't pop out of the holder while I'm doing this. And hopefully you can see. All right, so the other part of the coil cutter that I have, now I have an old model. Before Kevin Potter was took over the coil cutter aspect of his business, these were being made by someone else, a man named Dave Aarons, who I believe is no longer with us, but it is a part, it has a blade inside here, a sawtooth blade. Let me see if I can show you. It's like a slotted blade here with a whole bunch of teeth. I think it has like 120 teeth per inch, something like that. And it's made specifically for this. And then this is like a safety hood that's over it so you don't slice your fingers, which is a really good thing. So you have this attached to my flex shaft. And I have the little slot holder here for the coil, a little coil holder. And I have some cut lube, and what I'm going to do is lubricate the jump rings where the blade is going to touch them. And then, and I've got this on paper toweling because the when you cut the silver, it makes little silver dust all over the place. So you can collect that silver dust and add it to your scrap pile, or possibly use silver dust in another project. I've never tried that, but I've heard some people use silver dust on their projects. But it, it's worth saving. So you put that coil in there, you screw down the screws, and then I'm just going to make sure that the coil is as far down as it's supposed to be in the little coil holder. There is a notch inside that I didn't show you, but on this one end there's a notch where it stops the rings from going any further. So you want to make sure that your coil is all the way up against that notch. All right, so I've already made sure that my blade is in the right place, in the right position within this this hood, the safety hood. And always before I cut my rings, I make sure that it is in the right position to fit inside this slot here. Okay, so I'm going to turn on the foot pedal and bring it up to the high speed and show you how it goes. It's like butter. and just lift it straight up to take it off. Unscrew the one end, and you have beautiful jump rings. And usually your first, the first one and the last one on the coil get messed up because they're not perfectly aligned in that coil, and I just put that in my scrap pile as well. Okay, so I have an escapee there. So that's a very easy way to get jump rings. They're all flush cut. They're going to close real nicely. They're just that's the way to go if you're going to be doing a lot of chainmail or making jump rings. All right, let me take this back off, and we'll go back to the other area. Now from here, I would, because they've got the cut lube on them, I would wash them with hot water or give them a tumble if I have a lot of them. So that would be the next step, is make sure that they're free of the cut lube before you start working with them. Any questions about that? Oh, Sonny, good. Congratulations. That you'll love that. I think there's not much difference between the Peppy and the Kevin Potter model. I'm sure they do equally good jobs. Let's see here. Do I have his mini press? His mini, you mean like the hydraulic press, Dina? I do not have a Potter press, unfortunately. But a friend of mine, her husband made a press for me some years back, and if he had not done that, I would have bought a Potter press. But it's the one I have is it was a bargain, let me tell you that, because he just had me pay for materials, and so that was really awesome. But it's limited because the press is not as I don't have as much space as a Potter press does, so I can't put really a lot of stacked things in there. So, okay, all right. So I'm back to the table here, and I cut those 4 millimeters. So this is a good representation of 1 ounce of silver, and this is sterling. This is not fine. So that's that. Okay, just an FYI. All right, so to get started with the chainmail bracelet, I'm using the materials list in the book calls for 60 6mm jump rings, and I think it was 42. Yeah, 42 3.5 millimeters of 18 gauge. And you can use a paper clip, you can use a twist tie, or you can use a clasp end just to get started and have something to hold on to when you're doing your pattern. So we'll start with a twist tie. Why not? And the next thing I wanted to tell you about was pliers. You need 2 pairs of flat nose pliers, and there are tons of different flat nose pliers available. I have lots of different pliers because I teach classes. At least I did teach classes before COVID, and so I've gone through a lot of different ones trying them. The Wubbers are great. This is the standard size. Then this is, I don't know what brand this is, but these are the ergonomic handles, longer handles. It just depends on the feel that you like to use when you're working with chainmail a lot. So I prefer This was maybe about 2 years ago. I bought these Tronix pliers, and I love them. They are a little more pricey than the others. Do you have to have them? No. But if you're going to do a lot of chainmail, I would recommend getting really good pliers. Your hands will thank you for them. These are the ergonomic model, so they're longer. They feel good in my hand. They've got a cushion on the grip. There's just everything I love about them, except the price. I want to say that maybe, I don't remember for sure, but I want to say they're around $50 a pair, opposed to, you know, the more inexpensive, you can get them for $10 or $15 a pair, or a piece. So I don't know if I said a pair, but I meant a piece on these. So, you know, that's totally up to you. I'm not saying you have to have them. I just am recommending them because I've been using them and I like them, and my hands are important to me. And, you know, I do a fair amount of chainmail and different things that I use these pliers for. So it's a good thing to keep in mind. I will always help you spend your money, even though I'm not making any money on advertising any of this stuff, but that wasn't the point. Anyway, so when you're doing chainmail, you should open your rings slightly to make things go smoothly and quicker. If you pre-open them as opposed to opening them one at a time as you need them. If you're not sure how to open and close jump rings properly, I will show you here. This is a jump ring, how it came right out of the coil cutter. And I'm going to position my pliers, one on each side of the split. Okay, and I'm going to give it a little wiggle or jiggle. And I'm also, while I'm wiggling like that, I'm also kind of giving it an inward pressure, just a little bit of an inward pressure, wiggle. And you want to bring those two ends of the wire completely together against each other, not be able to see any daylight whatsoever through the jump ring. And sometimes to accomplish that, you might get really close, but really not close enough. So sometimes what you need to do is overextend one side over the other. I don't know if you can see that or not, but I'm kind of pushing that wire over it, the other side a little bit, and then pulling it back. And usually you can hear a little click where it almost sounds like it snaps in place, but it really is closed. You should be able to feel over the split, and it should be smooth. Okay, so you should not have, I mean, it has to be flush. It shouldn't be where one little corner is sticking out. If you don't close your jump rings well, you're going to snag your clothes with these, or scratch your skin with these edges that are kind of popping out. So you want to take good care in closing your jump rings, and that takes a little bit of time and effort, and you develop a skill over time to do that. Okay. Yes, Sonny, the Tronix brand, it's Tronex. That is just a preference that I like, but I've heard other people like these as well. But, you know, they're on the pricey side. All right, so you're going to open up your jump rings. To open them up, you're just going to take, I showed you how to close it before I showed you how to open it. You're going to take your pliers on either side just the same, but give it just a little bit of a bend to open it up. Now you don't want to over bend it. You don't want to distort your jump ring. You want it open enough that you can slide this into other jump rings without difficulty. But if you over open it, sometimes it's very difficult to get it back into the right shape. It's kind of like you distorted it, and it's hard to get out of, or hard to get back into the round shape again. Okay, so you just give it a little twist, open, And then when you go to close it, you're gonna give it a little wiggle as you're kind of pushing it together gently, not hard, because you can actually hurt yourself doing that if you slip when you're giving it that inward pressure. If you slip, you can just take this and just go right across your finger or your knuckle, and that does not feel good. I have had that happen to me, unfortunately, so I know. All right, so that's perfectly closed. Okay, and that's what your goal is when you're working with jump rings, and especially, well, any jump ring application. You want to make sure that you get them closed nicely. And are they made in America? You know what? I don't know, but it would be easily enough to find out. Okay, that would be great if they were. So many tools are not. So, okay, so we're going to take 2 jump rings and make sure they're closed fully. So that's what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to take 2 of the 3.5 millimeter jump rings and close them. And I am going to put my twist tie in here. Put them in my twist tie, I mean. Or paper clip, or part of your clasp. Okay, so to these 2 3.5 millimeter jump rings, I'm going to add 2 6 millimeter jump rings. Okay, oh, that one doesn't look too good. Okay, all right. So yeah, I mean, the first thing you should do basically is open a bunch of your jump rings, which I did pre-open some of these to save a little bit of time. Okay, so I have the 2 little ones and then the 2 6 millimeter ones hanging from that. From these 2 6 millimeters, I'm going to put 2 3.5 millimeters on them on this end and close them. Okay, so I have 2 littles, 2 big, 2 littles. Now I'm going to take 1 6 millimeter jump ring, and this is what I don't know if I can show you very well on the screen. But what I'm going to do is sort of lift up these 2 6 millimeter ones, kind of get in between there, and I'm going to put this 6 millimeter in between the 2 big ones, but behind the 3.5 millimeter. I don't know if you can see that. Can you? Okay. I'll put that in there and then close this up. You guys are going to have to tell me if you can see well enough or not. So, okay, so I've got the 2 little ones, the 2 big ones, 2 little ones, and then I inserted a 6 millimeter one, the bigger one, in between these 2 6s, but behind the 3.5 millimeters. All right, let's see here. Oh, good. They are made in America. I kind of thought they were, but I wasn't positive. Tam, you said to zoom in a little more. You know, yeah, you guys keep telling me if you can see or not where I've got this camera, where it's positioned. Sometimes I know if you get too close, then it gets blurry. But also in my handout, I have posted pictures, like progress shots, that you can see pretty clearly what this looks like. Can anybody tell me if they can see this okay, or if it's too close or too far back? Okay, so, all right, so I've got this single 6mm jump ring in here, and now I'm going to add a jump ring to the top. Let me see here if I can grab my awl. See where these two 3mm are right here? I'm going to add a 6mm on the top there, which I'll show you right now. I'll put a 6mm jump ring in here and close it. And then, so that's on top. Boy, I'm not doing a very good job closing this. Okay, so that's on top of that ring that's in the center. And now I'm going to just turn it over, and I'm going to put a ring underneath that center ring. Okay, so I'll try this again. All right, so you've got the two 3.5 6mm, two of those. You've got two of the 3.5s. Then there is a 6mm. I don't know how to describe this. You guys get the gist of it from this? You can see okay? Okay. And basically that's all it is. So I've got the two 6mm here at the end. Then I'm going to add two of the 3.5mm. I have trouble with my words, you guys. I don't know why. It seems like it's getting worse as I get older. I've always had trouble finding my words, but trying to do this is even more challenging, because I know what I mean in my head, but I don't know if I can relay it to anybody. All right, so I've got the two small ones on the two larger ones, and then I'm going to put the single one. So it's like 2 and 2 and 2, and then a single, and then 2 and 2 and 2, and then a single. It just repeats the whole length of the bracelet. But you should always keep an eye on your progress, because if you've done something wrong, you can correct it before you get too far along and get like super frustrating. It focuses on my apron. Oh, well, that's not good. So does that mean I'm too close? with my fingers. All right, so I'm putting 2 above. You're putting 2 above. You're putting 1 6mm above the single jump ring and 1 below. But you're going through the 4mm. It's as clear as mud, I bet. All right. So you just keep going with this. And honestly, this is a very quick weave to do. I did, before the broadcast, I cut all these rings and made the bracelet. I already had the clasp, but I made the bracelet and cut the rings in an hour's time. So that was pretty good. I was really rushing though, and I don't like that feeling because had I thought about it sooner, then I wouldn't have had to feel that tension of rushing. But I'm just saying that because to just show you that this is a quick weave once you get the pattern. But don't rush by any means. Try to do a good job on closing your jump rings properly. Any questions so far? Yes, that's probably a good way to put it, Mary. It says it looks like the single 6mm frames the smaller ones while the double 6mm connect. Yes. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. And I did not, like I said, I did not open all of my jump rings. I did a number of them, but this, the thing I like, well, there's several things I like about doing chainmail is, first of all, I like the way it looks, and I like the way it feels as a piece of jewelry. But I also like the portability of the project. You can, once you have your rings made, you can take them with you lots of places. I have done this on airplanes. I have done this, well, I don't want to say I've done this waiting for appointments, but you could. The problem with that is that you could maybe drop them. I don't know. But you could do that on a plane too. But I'll tell you, on a plane, and I should show you sometime, I've just got a plastic box that's about the size of this bead mat, maybe just a tad bigger. But I put a bead mat in the box. It's a snap close box, and it's just open. There's no compartments or anything. And I think I got it like at Joann Fabrics probably. It's good for all kinds of things, paper crafting or whatever. But it's wonderful to travel with because it has a lid that snaps closed. You can have your work surface in here, and everything is contained because it's within the box. So there's less likelihood of spilling everything, if you get knocked or bumped or whatever. So that's something. And I go one step further with that is, the shelf liner that you can get for your kitchen cabinets or whatever. It's that foamy, spongy, I don't know if it's Rubbermaid or what it is, but I cut a piece of that and I put that under my tray. I don't have it glued on there. I just put it under. I keep it with me, keep it folded up in the tray. And then I put that on the airplane tray. And then I put my box on there, and it keeps it from slipping. So I've got that one pretty well figured out. So do any of you have jump rings that you're following along with me doing this, or just watching it for, and you can play it back on replay when you have your own if it's helpful to you. Um, but I didn't have enough time really to think about making kits for anybody and and offering them. But that's always a possibility too. Not in silver, but in copper. And I get my silver, or I mean my copper on bigger rolls. Excuse me. Sometimes I don't think I have one handy here, but they're like big spools of 18 gauge that you can get at hardware stores. But I do want to note that when you're buying copper, if you're not aware, you want to make sure that you buy bare copper. I know with artistic brand copper or wires, they have different ones that are coated or colors or but they have a couple of copper choices, and they have what they call natural copper, which I assumed was just plain copper, and I bought some, and it's not. It's coated with something. So if you go to patina that, it doesn't patina well. So you have to look for the words that say bare copper on there, and that is what you want to buy. At least in the artistic brand. I would think any copper that you get in a hardware store is going to be bare copper. Excuse me. Deb, you're working with me. Good. Cool. Yeah, it's no fun to drop all this stuff on the floor and then have to go hunt for it. I spend a large portion of my life looking for things, and I think it's a common problem. I think a lot of us do the same thing, and I think it's probably because we have so much stuff, which many of you might say, well, that's, you got to have all the stuff, and I do agree with that, but it does cause other issues. But yeah, dropping stuff, I hate that. And then it rolls away from you and rolls underneath something else, and inevitably you can't retrieve it. So this is basically it. It's coming along. It's growing pretty fast. It's one of the weaves that is pretty quick. There are a few of my favorites. I will show you the next time I do a chainmail demo. One that adds rosettes to your pieces too. So that's kind of fun. Let's see. Is the single is the 6mm. Can you see it any better like this? Let me see if in her book, if there's a better picture. Well, probably not. I don't know. Can you see in this one here how this 6mm is in between these two and behind the 4mm? The 3.5 millimeters. Okay. All right. Any questions? Jennifer, you do those double. Are you saying, is there a variation of this pattern that you're doing, Jennifer? The thing that I like about this weave, and I think I mentioned it last week, is the way it lays flat on your wrist. And you know, if you like to, if you would like to put a, I don't know, a, let's see, let me grab something here. This isn't the appropriate thing, but just so that you get the idea. Say if you wanted to put a charm or something in here, or, you know, a piece of something that you had connectors on there, you can attach, you know, to either side, and it's nice and flat. It would make a really nice bracelet that would all lay flat. If you get my gist. I love this. I don't know if you can see it. This is a silver clay deer in the forest. It was a mold that I bought from Cool Tools a while back, and I didn't put a hole in it because I am thinking of putting some kind of a background on here, soldering it to that. So anyway, but I'm just saying for this, you could put something interesting, a centerpiece in there of some sort, and it would lay nice and flat. All right, where did I get this? Okay, put that back. All right. All right, I'm just trying to see if there's any comments or anything. So yeah, I mean, you would just do this till you get to the length that is right for your wrist. And I don't know how long this is, but I can tell you. Whoops. Or maybe I can't. Oh yeah, here's my measuring tape. These are the same pretty much. So this one is about 6 3/4 of chainmail links, and then you're going to have a little bit of length from your clasp. So like I said, it goes pretty fast. Shall I continue on with it? I'm trying to think if there's any other little tidbits of information to pass along for this, in the copper or in the silver, whichever. If you like shiny, that's fine. But if you don't, you can, I usually put these in liver of sulfur and then clean them with 4O steel wool and then give them a little tumble. And they're usually just great, just like that. I don't feel like I've quite given you a great explanation of this weave, but that's mainly because I don't have any close-up ability with my camera on my phone. You know, I can only get so close without it blurring. So I hope that that's not a problem. In a man's bracelet, I would do probably 16 gauge for a man's bracelet. I think that has a better weight, Deb. And I don't know, I mean, that's where I have my difficulty. I like to follow somebody's suggestions for the sizing, because there's that aspect ratio thing, which I don't quite grasp the whole understanding of that, but it really is important that you get the right size jump rings for the project. You can't just substitute what you have if they're not the correct sizes, because inevitably it's just not going to fit right. It will it will not lay right for one thing. They have to be the right sizes. So I don't know, Deb. I'd have to think about what a 16 gauge would require as far as size. I don't know if it stays the same, but I don't think so. I think it would have to be a little bit different because the 16 gauge wire is thicker than the 18 gauge. So let me think about that and see if I can get an answer for you on that. Sonny, you said, have you ever soldered your jump rings and made it a closed chainmail bracelet? I have not. I know Joni Kisro does that. She's done that. She's done some demos on that. If you check out her on Potter People group, she did that, I believe, as a demo. To me, it's very tedious. It's doable, but it's very tedious. So, yeah, it would be nice though, because you know it's not going to fall apart. However, it shouldn't fall apart by doing this method. The fact that you are closing your jump rings really well and that you have your jump rings in pairs, that's saying that strength in numbers is kind of like you could kind of use that idea for this as well, because if they're all connected and they all have and there's a few pieces to each one, it's strong. I mean, it would have to be really gone through some tremendous torque to pull something like this apart. So I just don't find the need for myself to solder. Now, to solder a jump ring on something like a chain or whatever, just a single thing, that's not a big deal. But to do this many, I would probably rip every hair out of my head. So, and I don't have any to spare. So there's that. And Deborah put a link to Micro Tools. Thank you for that. The Tronix flat nose pliers for 42 to 47. Yeah, that's why I was thinking they're very close to the $50 mark. So, but to me, like I said before, if it's something that you're going to do a lot, and maybe you have hand issues of some sort or another, I find that these are a lot kinder to your hands over the long haul. But if you're just using flat nose pliers for short applications, you know, whatever you have is probably just fine. It's entirely up to you. But you can see how fast this is growing. It's a project that is done fairly quickly. And this, it's also, when I was saying it's portable, this is a great thing to do, which I've done many times in the evening when my husband's watching TV, and I'm not so much interested in what's on TV, and I can just put this on my lap and make something, do something with my hands. I'm one of these people that have to keep my hands busy all the time. And I'm sure I've said that before, but it is just how I am. I just have this nervous energy, I guess. It's not a good energy like I'll go clean my house energy, because I've got all this energy. but it's just keeping my hands busy, you know, with doing something creative. So, all right. On this, Jennifer says, on this weave only, I figured out what will work if the small ring fits in the inside the larger ring. Other weaves, I look on sites. Yeah, you may have some leeway on some of the weaves, but I think for the most part, you really need to stick with whatever was recommended in the book, or, you know, by a person who's doing a project, because they've already researched it and they know. Yeah, you mentioned that it looks great in square wire. I've never seen something like this in square wire, Jennifer. So if you have something like that and you can share a picture of it, that'd be cool. Yes, Deb, I do the same. And that's one of the reasons why keeping my hands busy with the project is better than cramming food in my mouth. But, I think a lot of us have similar issues or likes. So you did it? Oh, good. Yeah, post a picture, please. I would like to see that. There's just, there's so much out there. It's hard to see all of it, So yeah, anything you want to share like that would be great. I don't know. Yeah, Sonny, I don't know if it would be or not. I guess Jennifer could tell us if it's comfortable. Um, that's always a consideration. But yeah, if anybody saw my post last night, I mentioned or I asked if anybody was interested in learning how to do kumihimo, and it's something I haven't done in a while. And but I have a feeling once you learn something like that, it's like learning chainmail. You generally don't forget. I'm pretty sure I could pick up my kumihimo disc and go right to town without any problem. The only thing, I wouldn't mind demoing it all. I toyed around with the thought of maybe offering kits that would include the disc and the beads and all the supplies that you would need. But I know a lot of people have discs already, so that might not be good. But then there are the end cone issues that are difficult to find. At least I've had that experience when we were going to shows. I could find the end caps or cones fairly easily, but I've been looking online and I'm not really seeing stuff that I think would be appropriate in the size department, because you have to have a pretty much specific size cone for it to fit the end with the beads, because you don't want any of the cord showing or the end part showing. So that would be the only issue. The other issue is Wendy suggested in my thread, in my post, that she was having trouble backing up if you make a mistake and you need to back up. Well, that's a problem for me too. That I probably wouldn't be too good of help to problem solve in that department. I've done so bad that I've ended up taking the whole thing apart because I couldn't backtrack and not make a mistake. So I know that there are plenty of people who do it that can do the problem solving and not have a problem, but I'm not one of them. But I can at least show you, give you a fairly decent demo of what it's all about. And if you want to pursue it from there, you can do that. So, okay, Jennifer says that hers is very comfy. What is contastic, Sonny? I don't know. Oh, Jennifer, I like that barrel weave. That's another fun one, but I think that might be a hard one to kind of show on one of these without a close-up camera. So, did you see how fast this is coming? I mean, really, that's not bad at all. So, all right, guys, if you have any other questions, I think I'm going to stop the demo at this point, because I've got my dad on my mind and I need to get over to the nursing home and see if I can fix his hearing aids in some way. So, I'm always scattered when I do this, but I think this is my worst one, worst one today because of that issue. So, if you have any questions, any further questions, just let me know. And if you have any problems with doing this, but honestly, it's a pretty simple one in the chainmail. I really like this silver one. There's just something about silver that I like. It feels luxurious to me. All right. Thank you guys for understanding with my dad. It's sometimes you live too long. Not that I wish him gone, but your bodies fail you. Your body fails you, and it's just tough. And with this COVID thing, that makes it all the worse. I mean, that's the worst part of it to me, is the not being able to see him and comfort him and make him know that we're still there for him, So, okay, guys, enjoy. Bev, if you need anything else, you're local, and if you need any help with anything, just let me know. Okay? And Carol as well. All right, thanks for understanding. Thanks for your prayers and good thoughts. Please continue to pray for the situation and for all the other people that are in similar situations during this rotten time. So far, 2021 isn't any better than 2020 in my opinion, but we'll go on. All right, so I'm not sure what I'm going to do next week, but I will be here, God willing, because I do need to do this. And if you can put up with my rambling, that'd be good. So, all right, guys, I'll look for your comments. If you have things to post, please post them. Oh, you know what I wanted to mention too, and I did in a post somewhere. I get requests to join daily from people who are not jewelry people, and I've become aware now of who they are, and I decline them immediately. But I don't know where they're coming from. I don't know how they're seeing this and knowing about the group. So if you can enlighten me on that, I'd appreciate it. All right. Okay, guys. I'll talk to you next week. Bye-bye.